world, let's chat it up. We're talking competitions, uniforms, and all of the above. It's the Cheer Mom, yes, the Cheer Mom podcast. Cheer Mom, yes, the Cheer Mom podcast. Cheer Moms, your podcast is on.
I would like to express my disappointment in all you all-star gyms in Idaho. I was at an event where Idaho All-Stars were competing, and I'm disappointed. Why aren't your team names potato puns? Why haven't we made this happen yet, guys? I'm disappointed. Your mini one could be the tater tots. Your cheer abilities could be like the Spud Buds. It's just too good to pass up. Small fries. Your youth 2 could be the small fries. Your junior 3 could be the crinkle cuts. And your level 5 could be chive to 5. I spent way too long trying to find potato puns just for this 30 seconds of the podcast. It's a little too on the nose, I understand, but I just feel like there's an opportunity there. Let's go, Idaho. Come on. I need more pun names. That was a thing for a while. It's still a thing some places, but name your team to stand out. These are the ways I entertain myself during cheer competitions. All right. We have our first Cheer Mom of the Week nomination. I'm so excited. So Mindy sent this in, and she said, I would like to nominate Taylor, who's a cheer mom for a senior level 4 team called Black Widow that is part of the gym Legacy Premier Cheer in Gilbert, Arizona. I've seen Black Widow perform, and I know that they have a lot of fans too. Taylor has organized many team bondings for the team this year that have really helped spark connection and team support amongst the girls. She has hosted them at her house with full event setups and engaging games and experiences. She has arranged for trips and outings all on her own. She has asked for nothing from the rest of the parents. Now she is arranging summit team bonding and gift bags that have the items the girls really want. She is really listening to them. She's had a custom-made, meaningful swag made for them, for the team, for memories and experiences they have had. And on top of her doing all that, she has thanked the rest of us several times for us and our girls and how great they are making the experience for her and her daughter. She does so much and asks for so little and still sends us appreciation. What an amazing cheer mom. Thank you for sending that in, Mindy. And shout out to Taylor, who's sounds like the team mom for Black Widow at Legacy Premier Cheer in Gilbert, Arizona. Yay. Don't forget to send in your nomination for Cheer Mom of the Week. You can do that by emailing hello@wonderfuldaymedia.com and in the subject line put in Cheer Mom of the Week and do what Mindy did and just write a short paragraph about who your cheer mom is and what gym you're a part of or what school you're a part of. And I would love to keep doing these shout outs on every episode of the podcast. Okay, today I'm going to answer, is it time to hang up the cheer shoes and quit? How do you know when it's time to peace out of cheer, even if it's just temporarily? There are many reasons why people need to leave cheerleading, and especially all-star elite competitive cheerleading. But I came up with 5 of them that are, I think, in my opinion, non-negotiables, or at least the most common reasons why people leave the sport. And I'm also going to talk about when it's not time to quit. So even if you're not thinking about quitting now, if you start hearing complaints from your athlete, you can tuck this in your toolbox for not if, but probably when that's going to happen. There were several years in there that my daughter wanted to quit cheer, and I took her seriously at least one of those years and started making mental plans to do something else or even take, a summer vacation. And she ended up still doing it. And I started to catch on to, okay, there are times that they want to quit, but it might not be the right time to quit. So all that said, let's get into it. 5 reasons that it may be time to hang up the cheer shoes and quit. This episode of the Cheer Mom podcast is brought to you by my new favorite piece of clothing, my Apollo socks. I'm not kidding. It's like a hug for your feet. Listen to more of the episode to learn more and find out how you can get 10% off. Have you ever met someone with a tattoo and asked them why they chose that specific tattoo? They probably had a story about how it's significant to them. I have 3 tattoos and they all have a very deep and meaningful significance to me. And every time someone comments on one, I'm like, thanks. And then I give them like a 5-minute explanation about why it's important to me. Even if tattoos aren't your thing, I think that we all need little encouragements and things that are specific to us that remind us of the things we love most and the words that motivate us to keep going. And that's why I started TCC Jewelry. The necklaces, bracelets, and rings are simple and engraved with little words that have special meaning, like hit 0, 2 minutes and 30 seconds, 1, 3, 5, 7, and more. And check out the new collections like the Faith Collection and introducing the Dance Collection, baseball, softball, and volleyball collections. Get something special for yourself or that special athlete or coach in your life today by visiting tccjewelry.com and enter coupon code CheerMomPod for 15% off your order. That's tccjewelry.com and enter coupon code CheerMomPod for 15% off. All right, these are not in any particular order. I think you'll know the weight of some of them, but these are going to vary differently depending on your family's situation and priorities. So they're just in random order. But let's start with, when is it not time for your athlete to quit cheer? And this can be very subjective, but what I have found consistently year after year is that athletes really want to quit in August and September, and a lot of them really want to quit in April. And I know a lot of parents, this one included, who have really entertained the idea in April of, this is too much. This is too much. And I'll tell you why. So first of all, in August, September, it's when the shine wears off. So the excitement of a new team is gone. You've done the summer team bonding activities. School has started and choreography is pretty much, for the most part, it's done by that time of year. And so they are just in the grind. Competitions don't start until October, November, and August, September is arguably the most boring time of the cheer season. So I would say take it with a grain of salt if your athlete is, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not having fun. It's boring. It's too hard. I would take that with a grain of salt. However, if you are going to leave, that is probably, if there's really never a good time to leave a team, but if you're going to entertain the idea of leaving a team in the quote unquote middle of the season, because the season typically, it just doesn't really end, August is probably the time to do it because it gives them enough time to find replacements. But I would say let your athlete, give them some time. Say, okay, let's get through your first competition, or if you still feel this way in 4 weeks, we'll have a conversation about not doing it next year. Something like that to get them through that slump season, I think will help. The other time of year, April, man, depending on your program and whether you're novice, prep, elite, D1, D2, there's so many variables here. But if your program goes to Orlando at any point in late April, early May, that late March, most of April time, it's when everybody goes back into their corners and hunkers down and gets ready for those end of season events. All-Star Worlds, the Summit, Worlds, the D2 Summit, East Coast Championships, Prep and Rec Grand Nationals, the finals, like there's so many and they're all happening in Orlando. It blows my mind. I last year I was in Orlando for 3 weeks and I'm going to be there for almost that amount of time again this season. Shameless plug, if you want to get a photo of your athlete in their uniform or otherwise, I will be in Orlando, living there temporarily, doing photo shoots all throughout. But it blows my mind that there are so many competitions happening at the same time in one place, and there are so many athletes to go around. Those competitions are packed. It's so much fun, but it's wow, our sport really is big. But April tends to be the time where we're done competing at local or regional competitions. All of the big national competitions are done, and you are working toward your end of season event, especially you Worlds and Summit D2 Summit folks. It's an intense time. The kids are tired. They're getting into that burnout time of the school year, and they're prone to injury. They've been traveling. We're in the middle of cold and flu season. There are all kinds of factors that contribute to April just feeling like it's too much. For parents, it's extra practice. It's like for me, it was the extra practices and the last minute extra practices, which are needed, but I'm a planner and I get really overwhelmed when there are schedule or calendar conflicts. It always works out, but April seems to be the time that I would have more breakdowns than any other time of the year. I remember sitting in Starbucks while my daughter was at practice, just like head in my hands, going, how am I going to do this? How is this going to work? So April can be a really intense time. Don't let the month of April dictate your next season or your tryout season, your tryout time frame. This episode of the Cheer Mom podcast is brought to you by Apollo. I've never met a cheer mom who doesn't want to keep their athlete healthy and injury free. We all do. But did you know that common cheerleading injuries like plantar fasciitis and ankle sprains can often be prevented just with having the proper support? That's where Apollo Performance socks come in. I wear them at night. I wear them when I travel, even just lounging around the house. And I know that they are changing the game for cheer athletes at practice and on the competition mat too. Apollo socks can even be a wonderful substitution for bulky leg braces, ankle braces, and even KT tape. And many athletes don't even need to use their heel cups anymore either. The difference in comfort and recovery is incredible. Apollo socks are designed to provide targeted support, reduce inflammation, and help your cheer athletes stay on the mat doing what they love. Visit apolloperformance.com and use code CHEERMOM2024 for 10% off. That's APOLLA performance.com and enter CHEERMOM2024 for 10% off. Okay, those are the times when you should not think about quitting. Just put that out of your mind during those times of the season. That said, here are some factors where if you came to me with a question that has a form of this subject matter in it, that's when I would say it's time to have a conversation with your athlete, with your family, and potentially with your coaches and directors. The first reason is money. Now, listen, we all complain about the expensive cheer and the percentage of the budget that cheer takes up is different for everyone, depending on how much money you make, where you are in the country, what kind of gym you're at, what they charge. So I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of that, but I want to read this email that someone sent in. She says, "We all know the expense that comes with having an all-star cheerleader, and the industry just keeps making it harder and harder for parents to keep up with the fees and extras throughout the season. For 10 years, I have tried to support my daughter in every way I possibly can, but I feel as if I'm a failure. My husband and I both work full-time jobs, and I myself work a second job in the evenings on non-practice nights. We have not been able to provide for our family with a vacation in over 5 years. My husband and I have arguments over the expense of all-star cheer every single tryout season. How is it fair to the rest of the family? What about my teenage son that wants to go to the beach this summer? What about all the things we could do if we didn't have such an expense? These are all questions I ask myself every night as I sit in the gym parking lot trying to figure out how I'm going to pay tuition this month. Where is the reality that middle-class families can't afford this sport? Sure, we do fundraise, but to be honest, people now run from me due to the ridiculous number of fundraisers I do in a year. But honestly, how many subs do I have to sell to pay for a year in All-Star Cheer? Sure, I can post all over social media asking for donations, but what am I really asking for? Friends to fork out dollars so my kid can fly to Florida because I'm too broke to pay for it? Talk about a self-esteem booster. I'm not looking for pity or sympathy. I just want to know that I'm not alone. Why do I feel like I'm still failing even though I'm doing everything I can to support one of my children? Where do you draw the line? How do you sit your child down and explain that mommy and daddy can't afford it anymore? That you are throwing their dreams out the window. My daughter has dreamed of being on the world stage since she was 5. Who am I to stand in her way? Why does it feel as if the industry we love has turned to a luxury that only the wealthy can afford? What does a cheer mom do when she is out of options? First of all, amazing faithful listener who has an hour and a half commute to and from cheer, I should say, and listens to the Cheer Mom podcast to and from. I just really appreciate that. Thank you. You are not alone. I know of cheer moms who are eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in March and April so that they can go to Orlando in May. I know plenty of families who they make cheer trips their vacation. They'll come in early or stay later, and that's their family vacation. They bring everybody in and they have pull-out beds and cots, and they share a hotel room or an Airbnb, and that's what they do because that's what they can afford. I'll tell you a little personal story. When I was in the 3rd and 4th grade, I started taking roller skating lessons. And not many people know this, but roller skating, they have it's not just roller derby. They have a form of roller skating that is just like figure skating that you see in the Olympics on the ice. It's just on 4 wheels. And I was working toward whatever that was. I was competing. I had the little dresses. I had choreography. I had a routine set to the music of the soundtrack of Hook. And I was living my best life. And I was good. I was very good. And it's just like getting on a bike. Now, I don't go roller skating very often, but when I do, I rock that floor and I impress everybody. Anyway, I only got to do one competitive season because it was so expensive between skates and dresses and competition fees and travel fees. And I loved it so much, but my parents flat out said, when you grow out of your skates this season, we can't do it anymore. And I was devastated. My poor little 10-year-old heart was just shattered. My dreams were shattered. And guess what? I turned out okay. And I found a new dream and I found a new love, multiple new love. I know that is hard to hear because cheer is all consuming and it's no, you don't understand. Like our kids love this and you don't understand how special the world stage is and how prestigious it is to be on a world's team. I do understand all that. And I'm here to tell you that when your kid is 25, 35, 40, that's going to be a special time in their life. And if they ever go to a big cheer competition, they'll get to walk around with their jacket and their ring. But at the end of the day, when they have to go to college or go get a job in the real world, the fact that they were a world's athlete or in all-star cheerleading at all isn't going to matter that much. It does not matter as much as, let me say it this way, what team you are on, what skills you have, what competitions you did or didn't win. That's not the point. The point is friendships and community and life lessons and discipline and being active. And I'm here to tell you that there are many ways to find those things. If cheer is breaking your family, like it sounds like it is in this email, it's time to take a step back. First and foremost, you and your husband deserve the best version of each other because you're partners in life. Your kids deserve the best version of you. And I would really ask yourself, can I give my kids the best version of me when I'm working two jobs and stressing out about how to make ends meet? And I know moms that, yeah, they work two jobs and a gig job and they Uber and they DoorDash and they do all of these things. If that works for you, great. But if you have other kids that are struggling and your family is at odds over being able to take a vacation or one member of your family being able to do what they love, I really think that it's time to have that conversation with your athlete. And it's going to be heart wrenching. It's going to be heartbreaking to tell her that she can't do cheer anymore or that it's time to take a break. But kids are resilient and she will find something else that she is passionate about. She will find a new dream. And maybe you can compromise. Maybe you guys can go to Disney World on a family vacation finally, and maybe it can be over World weekend where she gets to at least watch Worlds or something like that. There's got to be some kind of compromise. Buy her a TV subscription and let her watch the competitions. I'm here to say that there are plenty of cheerleaders across the world who are robbed of their dream, whether it is for financial reasons or injury or distance or what have you, that turned out to be okay. And some of them have even said, I didn't know what life could be like without cheer. And I thought that I didn't know who I was without being in cheer. And it turns out that there's this whole other part of me that I hadn't uncovered because I was so wrapped up in cheerleading being my identity. So I get a little deep there, but for those of you who are really struggling financially to the point where it's causing strife in your family and you're having to make sacrifices that other members of your family have not signed up for, that you guys have not agreed on, it's time to take a step back when money becomes the number one issue. I think there's a statistic out there that like the number one or number two or 90 something percent of couples fight more over money than anything else. It's true. Money is a stressor, and especially when you don't have it. I've been there. I've been there. And your family, your partner, your other kids, and frankly, your cheerleader don't deserve to have that kind of strife in their home over something that may or may not matter 10 or 15 years from now. It's a hard truth, but my heart goes out to you. And so that's my first, again, these are in random order, but money is a big one. Okay, next reason why it might be time to quit, or next sign that it might be time to quit, this one might affect more of you, is burnout. And burnout is real, and the sport has taken, in the last 10 or 12 years, has taken big strides toward minimizing burnout among athletes. So that looks like changing the age grid. So maybe you have to be 13 to be on a senior level team. It used to be, I'm making this up, I don't really remember, but it used to be that you could be younger and be on a senior team, and now you have to be a little bit older, and they've adjusted and they've slowed the progression of growing, because at the end of the day, if you have a 10-year-old on a world's team, cool. They are amazing and in the top like 1% of their sport. But where do they go from there? It's easy for them to get bored and to get burnt out. And so the industry, and I'm not just talking about varsity, USASF, Open Championship, I'm talking about the whole industry, coaches, gym owners, yes, these event producers and these organizations, as a collective, have seen the problem of burnout and have tried to put measures in to slow that down so that you get to be in the sport and you take this journey all throughout your childhood and on into high school if you want. So burnout can be a really big deal and a sign that it's time to take a step back. It's time to quit. It might be time to take a year off. And our friend Jeff with Mind Body Cheer recently posted the 3 stages of burnout, and I want to go over them with you quickly. So, the first stage is staleness. So, their motivation dips, their performance plateaus. Stage 2 is overtraining. So, they have anxiety, stress, and fear, physical and performance decline. So maybe they're trying to get over the staleness, trying to get over this performance plateau, and that's causing anxiety and it's actually making them perform worse. And stage 3 is just total burnout, total exhaustion, mentally and physically, and loss of motivation and interest. I can think of times when I've been burnt out on different areas of my life. You can see it coming when everything just annoys you and nothing is going to work. No matter what I do, it's just not going to work. That's a really big sign of burnout. So pay attention to that. At the very least, like I said, it might just be time for a break. The next sign that it might be time to quit cheer is if cheerleading does not align with your athlete's goals and your family values or your family values. Let me explain what I mean by that. So let's say ultimately your athlete wants to be an engineer and they want to go to some place like here in Colorado, it's the School of Mines and it's really hard to get into. And with some colleges, there are different prerequisites and you really have to hunker down and be really good at your craft to get into the program that you want. Maybe, I guess more of a relatable topic for me is maybe you want to be in performing arts. Maybe you want to study musical theater and performing arts. There is a whole process that needs to start when they're like 12 to get into some of these performing arts colleges. And so as your athlete grows and as they discover more about themselves, their dreams and their goals might change. They might lose interest in cheer. Remember, we had a podcast guest on not too long ago who was talking about her friend who the son was so good at golf and was great at golf from a young age. And right in the middle of, I can't remember if it was high school or college, just was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And had all these opportunities ahead of him. And he was like, I'm done. And we need to normalize that in especially American culture, but in cheer culture also. Cheerleading does not, listen to me, cheerleading does not have to be a long-term investment. It doesn't. I think it's hard. If I were in a position where I had, say, a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old, and I am thousands of dollars in on just private lessons and classes alone, it's hard to get over, wow, like I spent all of that money on all these private lessons and you just want to throw it all away and go do like track or volleyball now? That's a hard pill for a parent to swallow, but I'll tell you that I believe that makes a healthy parent, a mature parent, a good parent when you're willing to let go or allow your kids to let go of a dream that they had. Because I'm not trying to make it sound like you're living vicariously through your kids. No, like your kid could be passionate about something for 5 years and then just be like, time to try something different. That happens every day. And for parents like me, it's wait, we went all in and we're on this path and we're on this track. It's whiplash to change it. And so it's something that I think as a parent, we would have to process. But if your kids' goals and passions change, I think it's okay to hang up the cheer shoes, especially, and all-star gym owners, don't kill me, but especially when it's all-star cheer, your athlete, heads up, like it's possible for your athlete to be, if they want to be a college cheerleader, or if you are trying to convince them to be a college cheerleader, which it's a great thing, they don't have to do all-star cheer in order to be on a college team. They can take a total break. If they are an amazing tumbler and they don't want to do high school cheer or college cheer, there's still a chance they can make a college team. Now, probably not Kentucky or Texas Tech, but unless they're just like a prodigy. And anyway, like I said, it does not have to be a long-term investment. All-Star Cheer tends to suck you in and build a community around you, which is great, but it can cloud your judgment on when it might be time to let go and move on to something else because that's what your athlete wants. I also mentioned family values. If something changes with your family, let's say dad just finished seminary and is going to be the pastor of a church, that's going to cause a discussion to be had because a lot of cheer competitions are on Sundays. And so that's what I mean by family values change. Maybe your family circumstances have changed and it's not in the budget anymore, or you don't have a car to take him or her to cheer, or your job doesn't allow you to travel with your kid. That's a time to reassess and talk about, okay, do our family values and priorities align with competitive cheerleading? And it is okay if the answer to that is no. Next sign, toxic culture and no other option. Go back and listen to my conversation with Jeff Benson, again, Mind Body Cheer, about signs of a toxic culture, signs that there is mental and emotional abuse going on in your gym. Abuse is abuse. It does not have to be physical to be abuse. And we need to be, as parents, watching for those signs. There's a difference between tough coaching and mental abuse. And I've seen it firsthand. I just don't think that there is any championship ring or jacket in the world that's going to be worth your child's mental health and emotional health. Maybe they are on the best team in the world. Maybe they are on the best team in the country and they have a chance at winning fill in the blank competition. If your child is not being nourished mentally and emotionally by the coaches, and you've tried to address it with leadership, you've tried to address it with coaches, it's time to peace out. And if you don't have any other options in your area, as so many do, or maybe your athlete doesn't want to go to the smaller gym down the street, that's okay. But there is just I just don't think that there is a long-term benefit for putting up with some of the toxic cultures that our athletes are growing up in. Last sign, at least of mine, that it's time to quit is too many injuries, and especially when those injuries are concussions. I know of a couple of parents that come to mind very quickly that daughter was a flyer, was getting too many serious concussions, and mom said, one more and she's done. So do what you need to do, but one more and she's done. And I hate to say this, I really do. But mom, that's a mom that needs to be a practice. I don't like watching practice. I've talked about it in several episodes. Do you watch practice? Do you not? If your daughter or son is experiencing multiple concussions and you have a limit, which I think is very fair, and I think more of us should be thinking about that, that's when you need to be at practice. Because I've seen and heard about coaches that kid bumps their head and it's close to a big event, a big competition, and coaches, no, you're fine. You're fine. We don't need to tell your mom. I hate saying that, but I think as mom, you need to be there and assess, okay, was that just a head bump or did she just get another concussion? Because we know our kids and we know how they will act after a fall or a bump. And that's when you need to be, when you're at that threshold of, we can't do this anymore if there's another injury to her head, to her back, to her knee. And if you continue to push her, she's going to get injured. There are plenty of coaches that will tell their athletes to tough it out. And I grew up in that generation, and I know that most of you grew up in that generation where it's just push through, just tough it out. We're finding that doesn't really work. The therapy business is good for therapists. And we're all finding out that we suffered some trauma, some of us, when it comes to pushing through and just swallow the pain, whether it's physically or metaphorically. But there are coaches that will go, oh, no, she's fine. You're fine. You're fine. And the athlete, I don't blame the athlete. They're like, I want to go. I want to be on the mat. My daughter competed on broken fingers and she competed with the flu with 104-degree fever. And it nearly killed me. It nearly killed me to watch her have to do that. But the athletes, they want to be out there. And they're going to try to mask pain or injury and go like, I am not missing NCA. I am not missing the summit for anything. And they're making short-term instant gratification decisions that could possibly have very long-term effects on their body. And I get enough DMs from people in their 20s and 30s who are like, yeah, I toughed it out. And now like my knee is never going to be the same. It was not worth it. Maybe if you're on a college football team and you're playing for the national championship and you could win the national championship, maybe you could push through pain. Most coaches don't let them even do that anymore. But this is not, again, guys, it's just cheerleading. I don't say that lightly. I don't, because it was and is still a huge deal for me. And every tryout season, every team announcement season, I'm texting my friends and my coaching friends and my owner friends, what teams are you going to have? What team did you make? Did she make the team that she wanted? Oh my gosh, yay. I am so invested in this community and in this sport. But at the end of the day, if it's having a long-term negative effect on your mind, on your emotional health, and on your physical health, it is not worth it. Don't let your long-term decision-making be clouded by short-term happiness and success. And that's what I have to say about that. Let me know what you guys think. Please don't hate me. Please don't unfollow me. Let me know what you think. If you are dealing with any of these, I would love to hear from you. Again, there are so many factors and situations that play into this, and there's so many reasons why it might be time to hang up the cheer shoes. I am certainly not advocating for people to quit cheerleading, but if you are in these difficult situations, it's time to have that conversation. If you're feeling passive aggressive, you can share this episode with a friend or a friend of a friend or your daughter or son who has a kid in cheer. Who knows? Just want to hear the family dynamics involved with sharing this episode. You guys be good, stay healthy, and I can't wait to see you again.
What up, party people? This is Jason Larkins, host of the Let's Talk Cheer podcast, and I've teamed up with Kristen Wheeler of the Cheer Mom podcast and Dan Cotton of the Cheer Biz podcast.
That's right. Hey, everybody, Kristen here. We know that you love cheer, so why not dive into more perspectives? Tune into my podcast, the Cheer Mom podcast, for cheer issues spoken from the parent's perspective. Then head over to Dan's podcast, the Cheer Biz podcast, to learn from a gym owner on how to run a successful cheer business. And of course, don't miss the Let's Talk Cheer podcast featuring Jason Larkins, the one that we all know and love, where they talk about cheer from a coach's perspective.
Which means whether you're a coach, a cheer parent, or a gym owner, we've got you covered. Find all 3 podcasts on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and stay tuned for new episodes each week.